Yes mate, how's it going, and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Welcome back also to another episode of Transfer News 4. Last time out, it was Newcastle United who were dominating the headliners with their financial takeover. Looking like though it might take a little bit longer than expected for that to actually be finalised. This time round, it's Chelsea's turn to dominate the headliners. It looks as though that Chelsea are putting together a side to challenge for the Premier League next season. Also, David Silva is leaving Manchester City after 10 amazing years. But who will replace him? All this and more on Transfer News, Episode 4. If you are new to the channel and you want to see more football related videos from myself on a weekly basis, make sure to hit that big red subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you don't miss a thing. Chelsea have officially announced that Timo Werner will be a Chelsea player next season. He is coming to the Premier League and they have signed him for £47.5 million. An absolute steal for a player of his capability, his quality. He's a great player who can cut over the wing, play across anywhere across the front three. He's really good, really consistent. This season his statistics, according to transfermarket.co.uk, is in 42 games he has 31 goals and 13 assists in all competitions. He's contributed more goals than he has games this season, which is just incredible, absolutely incredible. And in the thumbnail I did mention that is he the new Didier Drogba for Chelsea? And just put it into perspective, Drogba's best season at Chelsea was the 2009-10 season, 44 games, 37 goals, 16 assists in all competitions. Again, more goals contributed than games played, which is just incredible. And it's not as though that Timo Werner was playing at a tin pot league, because the Bundesliga is definitely not. There is huge competition there. If he can bring that form with him and apply his trade in the Premier League, he will be unstoppable. Absolutely ridiculous. Could possibly even go ahead for Salah's record-breaking season of 32 goals in a season. He could easily go ahead and level it, maybe even break it even. It also seems as though for a while that he was very much linked with a move to Liverpool. I don't actually know, didn't really look too much into it as to why he was in fact linked with Liverpool, but apparently he was. Out of nowhere, Chelsea just come in and signed him, which is just amazing. Well, I say amazing. It's going to be quite annoying for the rest of us in the Premier League. I mean, he's just scoring goals for fun. There's no two ways about it. And if it's something that Chelsea desperately do need, is goals. I mean, don't get me wrong, Tammy Abraham, he's been fairly decent in his debut season for Chelsea. In 34 games, 15 goals, 6 assists. Half the goals and assists contribution to what Timo Werner has managed. But for his debut season in the Premier League, it's not half bad. In fact, it is pretty decent for a player of his age as well, and his capabilities and his potential. It's a very good start for Tammy Abraham. So game time might be a little bit difficult with Timo Werner coming in. At the same time, I can see him getting in game time in league games like FA Cup, Carabao, maybe even Champions League in like the group stages. For their top 4 hopes, they will definitely be looking very much alive with Timo Werner in that squad. But that's not all. Of course, Chelsea have also signed Hakim Ziyech from Ajax for £33.6 million. But again, that's not all. They're also linked with Kai Havertz from Bayer Leverkusen, Ben Chilwell from Leicester City. They are also linked with Atletico Madrid's Jan Oblak, offering Kepa plus £25 million, and that was titled as Chelsea's dream signing was Jan Oblak. And they're also at one point linked with Jadon Sancho for £120 million. Recently, Jadon Sancho has come out and said that he's ready to bury the hatchet with Pep Guardiola, and he would in fact return to Manchester City, which looks as though something we would need, because it seems as though the times is up and it's time to say goodbye to Leroy Sane. Just saw it today, according to OneFootball, that Sane is not happy at Manchester City and it's time for him to say goodbye. And it would be a massive, huge loss to lose someone just like Leroy Sane. But then again, at the same time, it's kind of understandable. He's a young player, and if we don't go ahead and overturn our Champions League ban for the next 2 years, then again, it's just understandable if he does want to go ahead, apply his trade and try and challenge for the Champions League. So fair enough to him, but then again, we just hate to see it. We just absolutely hate to see it. Moving on next to David Silva. It's been confirmed by Manchester City that he will be leaving as a free agent at the end of the season after 10 amazing years. It will actually be 10 years this month on the 30th. And Tottenham, it seemed, according to BBC Sports, are supposedly interested in him. According to the Metro, Manchester City trusts that Phil Foden can be the perfect replacement for David Silva. That's what Guardiola's been saying. But there's also something else to consider. Who else could be the potential successor to David Silva? There is a total of six other players. Got that a bit wrong then, didn't I? 6 other players who could be the potential successor, like I said, to David Silva. They are Sergio Canales from Real Betis, Nabil Fekir, also from Real Betis, Isco from Real Madrid, Martin Odegaard from Real Madrid, currently on loan at Real Sociedad, Jack Grealish at one point from Aston Villa. I think that's purely because Guardiola does say he does admire Jack Grealish. He thinks he's a technically gifted player, which he is, and he's such an important player for Aston Villa. And of course Phil Foden, but of course Bernardo Silva as well. I'll say of course, it was quite a surprise as well for Bernardo Silva. I think that's just purely coincidentally they've both got the same surnames. Moving on to the next big bit of transfer news, PSG have confirmed that both Edinson Cavani and Thiago Silva will be leaving the club at the end of the season. Both their contracts run out this month in June. However, they will remain at the season until it is fully done and dusted, as PSG have in fact qualified to the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League. And rumour has it that Cavani, 33 years of age, has been linked with Atletico Madrid, and Jose Mourinho is interested in the 35-year-old Brazilian centre-half to try and attract him to White Hart Lane. This is quite surprising as well for them to go, despite their ages, you'd think that they go ahead and go retire to either the MLS or even going back to their boyhood clubs. Their boyhood clubs being Edinson Cavani's Danubio, I think it's called Danubio FC in Uruguay, and David Thiago Silva's boyhood club in Fluminense, I think it's called Fluminense. Too many Silvas in this transfer news. Bernardo Silva, David Silva and Thiago Silva. There's just too many of them. Despite the fact of their age, they are both quality players who've probably got another 2 years left in them. Alright, they've both slowed down a bit more in pace, but they've been very key players. PSG could very much be in a tricky situation, just like we are with their centre-backs. They don't have too many centre-backs. They have Marquinhos Diallo, is it called? Diallo? And some German centre-half. I've completely forgot his name. But just losing a leader like Thiago Silva would be a massive loss to them as well. Moving on now to Arsenal, who of course we did beat in a 3-0 game. They returned to the Premier League yesterday. David Luiz being sent off, which is just typical of him. Absolutely typical of David Luiz. He's just a tin pot defender. Just absolutely tin pot defender. Arsenal are keen to keep Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. That's what the big headline news is for Arsenal. They pretty much do. Otherwise, they'll be in the same sort of predicament as Chelsea, where they just do need goals. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang could very much contribute that as well. Of course, did draw last season with the Golden Boot. Arteta claims that Aubameyang can be convinced to remain at the club despite their fair to say mediocre start of the season, and he's come out and said, this is Mikel Arteta coming out and saying that we have had many discussions with Pierre, his family and his agent, and I'm pretty positive we can find the right agreement for all parties. His contract expires next season and he's refusing to sign a new deal, but Arteta is pulling out all the stops to keep the pacey Gambian striker in London and extend his contract for maybe 2-3 years. He's 31 years of age at the moment. Keep a player like him, he could play on for another 2 or 3 years. He does have that consistency and that good run of form about him. Even with Lacazette, losing someone like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang would be absolutely just a huge loss. Again, a huge loss. A number of huge losses here, and of course a number of momentum made up with Chelsea, especially with their signings. But that's where we're going to wrap it up, guys. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts on Chelsea with all their signings, David Silva, who we can replace him with, PSG, how they'll be able to bounce back from losing 2 key players, and whether or not Arsenal, poor old Arsenal, I don't really care about them, whether or not they'll be able to keep their star striker in Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're not, and I'll see you lot in a bit.